Another Q&A edition of the show. So much going on right now. There's multiple events this weekend, and there's only so many of us to go around, and it's just one of those weeks where we wanted to turn the programming over to you. And joining me, you heard his voice earlier. How much you heard, I'm not really sure, but he is Mr. No Gray Area, the hot take kid himself, the one and only Jed Bashu. Jed, how we feeling? Describe how we're feeling in a single word.
In a single word, poopy.
Then you can show your work after. Poopy, okay.
Poopy, not a great day, and have no idea how much everyone heard, but the answer might be more than 0, so not the best start to this either.
Okay, and here as well joining us, and dude just been getting welted up in the face. All about the face, all around it. Now we got black eyes, all sorts of in-gym war wounds for the one and only E. Casey Leiden. Look at this man's face. Look at it. Look at it. Look at this guy.
Oh, wow.
Just getting dinged up everywhere.
I am the U.S. economy right now. Yes.
I was going to say, were you trying to fight a gorilla or something?
Strong.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I read it has one man versus 1,000 gorillas. It was about, I shouldn't have looked at it more. Should have proofread.
You did okay.
Yeah, I did.
You did okay.
Yeah.
Well,
can we just say the ubiquitousness of that topic is wild to me. Like that is just everywhere right now. And it's very, very funny.
It is very funny. And it's like, what do you think about that? Because I'm so sick of it already. Like I truly am so sick of it. And I'm sure there's going to be questions asked about it. And sure, that's what the show is all about. But I mean, everybody's jumping all over this thing now. And anywhere I turn, it's this topic.
Here's the thing. I usually like topics like this, like very silly hypotheticals. The problem is this has like a very obvious answer. And so it's not that fun. Also, it's open. It's not open-ended. It's definitive, which takes away like previously we've all, or I assume we've all, if this is just a me thing, I guess I'll find it out in moments. How many 8-year-olds do you think you could beat up before they overrun you? Like that's open-ended because you are providing a number of how many to do the thing. And that's a great game to play. It's like, okay, do I get a weapon? How do we do this? Like that's a fun hypothetical to reason out. This is a definitive yes, no answer. And also like, it's a pretty clear answer. And so the fact that it has gotten as big is really wild to me.
Yeah. So what is your clear answer?
Oh, so we're clear in any normal circumstance, i.e. a scenario where this would happen, the gorilla wins. If we are crafting a scenario where 100 dudes feel no fear and also can coordinate an attack and like pre-plan, then yeah, they're going to be able to get it done because like the thing of like 100 people can't fight one gorilla. Like if you've ever been jumped, there aren't 100 dudes. It's like at most 5 people can hit you at one point in time. So like the first 24 are just slaughter, like sacrificial lambs. And then you can start just throwing their dead bodies at the gorilla and, eventually turning their bones into weapons to actually like stab it. So like a coordinated effort, if nobody's afraid of anything because we're all unsullied or some shit, then sure, 100 dudes can get the gorilla. But like half of them are dead. At least half of them are gone as part of this. But in any real world, we're like, oh, let's Mr. Beast this and put one silverback versus 100 dudes on a arena. The gorilla is running through these people because the moment you see a silverback literally rip the head off your buddy Joe, you're done. You're out. You're not fist fighting that goddamn thing. So it's a very silly question.
See, what you don't get this type of insight anywhere else, ladies and gentlemen. You just don't. So
I've spent most of my life debating idiotic hypotheticals. Like, come to me for these things because I got them.
All right. Well, there you go. We have put a bow on this discussion. Actually, we probably haven't. But Casey, let's bring up the questions. Of course, the super chatters get carte blanche, if you will. They get to jump to the front of the line. So Let's see
All
what they
right.
got. What do they want to
Super
talk about?
chat
Tons of shit.
from Sleeto.
Sleeto, what's up with certain media outlets refusing to cover the Francis situation? Is it a farce? What's your take? No ability to confirm. I mean, you kind of nailed it.
It's just that last part.
You
Yeah.
answered it.
I mean, we're not going to, until it's like concrete and we have something of evidence, whether it's a statement or a police report of some kind. This is Cameroon too, so that not easy to get. Until that happens, we can't just say, because what if it's not true? What if it's not true and we've sullied the man's name and we have no evidence or proof of any of this stuff? Like, you're just setting yourself up for a lot of risk, especially if it's not true. So I would rather, at least, and Jed, you can expound on this. I would rather be last and be right than be first and be wrong.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't want to speak for everybody because maybe there are people out there who just suck at their jobs. I don't have a whole lot of contacts in Cameroon. I don't have a lot of inside sources with the Cameroonian legal departments that exist. And so anything that we do is all entirely secondhand as a result of this. Like, obviously we know that the reports are out there. I think we've individually people have commented, with the appropriate stipulations, but like, to the best of my knowledge, there seems to be validity to this because the Cameroonian outlets that are reporting it appear to be reputable places, right? But that is literally entirely secondhand information from us. We have thus far, again, I don't want to speak for everybody, been unable to get confirmation from any member of Ngannou's team, not for lack of effort. And so for now, this is, hey man, like, frankly, I don't even know how I would go about doing this. Like, just DMing people who live in Cameroon and being like, hey, can you go check? Like, it's so off beyond like our capability at this point to confirm based other than a few sort of specific instances. And so we're kind of just stuck waiting, and we're definitely not going to come out here and say some shit because aside from you getting sued, that's also just morally repugnant.
Yeah, it's not like the Cedric Doumbe story where you could just go on the internet and see his mugshot and all of the charges that are against him, and that he's got $558,000 bail that he's got to pay if he wants to get out of jail for his however many arrests that he's had over the last several years in the same county. Like, that's easy to confirm. It's easy to find, easy to look up. You just can't do it based on a report. Now, if it's like Mike Coppinger reporting a boxing fight, that's different. If you see multiple reports and Coppinger's usually got the inside track on things, that is his job. Sure, it's Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk 3 reported for October. Like, you can do that. And if it's wrong, you can blame Cop. Like, all good. It's not like no harm, no foul. But something like this, you just can't take any chances. So
if this happened in America, we would know, but it'd be 100%. Easy because every other time something like this has happened, we have immediately reported. It's just, this is a hard one to confirm because of the circumstances surrounding it.
Yeah. If it's true, it's not good. Like, I think we can flat out say it, but we don't 100%. Know if it's true or not. So
desperately hope it's not true, just because it will be awful if it is true. But, it seems like there's at least some validity here, which sucks real hard if so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you, Sleeto. Super chat from our great friend Spencer.
Howdy, boys. Agree with you about wanting to see fighters defend and not move up, but why do you think so common in boxing but frowned upon in MMA? I know more weight classes, but often guys fight up 2 to 3 weight classes in career in boxing. I mean,
it's the gap.
Go ahead.
It's the gap. It's like 4 pounds, 5 pounds at most. I mean, that's the basic thing. And you have different governing bodies, so it's like you don't tight. Boxing is just a whole different world when it comes to this stuff.
There's really multiple titles things. Yeah, and it's just multiple promotional bodies and organizations with multiple titles in every single weight class. Like the UFC they're the only game in town right now. Like obviously there's other fight promotions out there, but nobody cares. It's all about the UFC, and it's not like, you know, Dricus du Plessis is going to fight Johnny Eblin and then, you know, then he fights somebody else, and then he's like, okay, now I'm going to move up to 205 because I have 4 middleweight titles. It doesn't work that way. You only got one title. You can only fight the dudes that are signed to that promotion. You're limited to what you can do with that. Boxing doesn't, it has some limitations, but certainly nowhere near the amount that the UFC has. It's just different governing bodies, and it's all shaped differently. So you can get away with that stuff. And these promotions are willing to work together, even the ones that hate each other. Bring in Turki Al-Sheikh with big money and big pockets. He can put these guys together. Dana ain't gonna co-promote with anybody, so it's almost impossible to compare the two, I think.
Yeah,
it's just the two factors. One, frankly, more than the other. It is easier to do because the weight classes are so tightly compacted, right? And so, like that, it is just a less risk involved, right? Instead of a 10-pound gap, you're going up 6 pounds. I know people really like, to me, that's just not that big a difference, right? Like it is, it's not really. But the bigger point is that their fighters are their own bosses. And so they can do that shit. They can't do that in the UFC because you have to be functionally allowed to do that. Or like totally willing to just thing. Belts mean more in the UFC in general because there's only one of them. And so fighters up until Ilia Topuria have been very unwilling to just be like, I don't care about this. I'll leave it and go do another thing. In boxing, you just be like, well, I'm going to go fight this dude. And because there's such, you know, each organization or whatever has a limited number of dudes. If you're a champion, they're just going to be more willing and you have the autonomy. MMA fighters would move up and challenge for multiple weight classes constantly if that was like a thing that the UFC supported, but they don't. And so that's how it is.
Yep.
And I frankly think that is better.
All right. Thank you, Spencer. Super chat, $10 super chat from Dave R18.
Thank you, Dave. Definitely not super plausible, but if there is a fighter in the UFC to ever win undisputed gold in 3 different weight classes, who would it be? Poatan has a chance, not really. Maybe Makhachev. So to ever win undisputed gold, who would it be? Have we seen him yet, or her? Is this has this fighter? Do we know who this fighter is? If it's possible.
Before we get into that, what do you think the 3 weight classes, most probable 3 weight classes, the gap?
Well, that's the thing.
Middleweight. I think middleweight to heavyweight.
So, like,
maybe
yes. So historically, like, Valentina Shevchenko had a good chance just because featherweight and bantamweight were functionally synonymous.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, but that also would have felt kind of asterisky with that regard. My best guess would be like a middleweight to heavyweight, because heavyweight, like those, you're getting progressively worse. Middleweight, then heavyweight's the worst, or light heavy is the worst division. Heavyweight's the worst division. That's still really hard. Like Poatan could do it, but I still think that that's unlikely just because the top part of the heavyweight won't suck, right? Like the middling part would suck. Alex Pereira could easily be like a top 5 heavyweight because weight class is garbage, but a top 5, those guys are good. And then the size difference comes into play. Really, if I had to guess right now, and I am not suggesting that this will happen, I want to be very clear about that. The best chance something like this ever has to occur is somebody like Ilia Topuria. Even though these weight classes are really hard, like it would be in 3 incredibly good weight classes, right? Featherweight, lightweight, welterweight. He won a belt so early at featherweight, naturally got bigger to become a natural lightweight, which we've frankly seen with a ton of lightweights. Renato Moicano, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira. Like these are dudes who were, fought at 145 at one point, but just grew up and so then became elite fighters at 155. Topuria already has won one belt. He's still 27 or 28, adds a little weight, and then it's a stretch to go win welterweight. But one of the things I say all the time about why winning multiple belts is certainly impressive, but I would say less impressive than defending a title. You only have to win one fight, right? Like if you win, you have to win that fight, and that fight may be more difficult than your other ones, but you only have to win one. You got to get one good matchup one time, or just have one, lucky roll of the dice. And if Topuria does win the lightweight belt in the next couple of years, which I think is very, very possible, even if it's not over Islam, right? Honestly, if Topuria beats Islam Makhachev, do you think he is going to go and be like, I will now defend against Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan? Not a chance in hell. He's going to be like, dude, I just beat Islam. Let me fight Shavkat or Belal or whoever has the belt there. And so he's probably the best bet right now. But if it's going to happen, it's going to be a scenario like that of a guy gets a little bigger as he goes. And because he becomes a star, they just give him the opportunity and he high rolls.
Yeah. And Ilya could still do the thing. And if he beats Islam, he can go fight Patty, win that, and then be like, all right, I'm out, and just go up. Like he has at least a title defense with each reign, which makes it more impressive than just winning 3 fights. So, yeah, that's a good shout.
If it was a different UFC world, could Prime Aldo been that guy? 35, 45,
100%.
55?
Yep.
No, it's not a question in my mind.
Yeah. That immediately I was like, oh, if the business world at the time in the UFC would allowed it, you see, I would assume he would have gone up first. When Prime Aldo, who was the champ at 55?
Well, Prime Aldo was the champ for a very long time, so there were a lot of champs. Frankie Edgar,
oh my God, Frankie,
Vincent Henderson, Anthony Pettis, I believe, were all BJ certainly. I think that was the run of. So BJ's probably not winnable, but maybe.
Well, Prime BJ, Prime,
because that would have been Prime BJ, so that's probably not. Frankie he beat convincingly twice.
And Frankie was a 45er, always at 55. Yeah.
Benson definitely winnable. I think Benson could win, but also I think that's definitely a winnable fight. And I would have confidently picked Aldo against Pettis.
Yeah, and then
he could have easily, and that's one of the things that frustrates me about the Aldo legacy is like they didn't let him. He didn't really push for it, but like he would have easily been a champ. Like there wouldn't have been a question given sort of the lay of the land for most of his title reign.
Yeah, and now that we know that,
we know he can make 135, I would have always picked him to be Dominic Cruz.
Or Barao, whatever, who was there ever at that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Aldo's your answer. So yes.
Well, BJ is also like BJ 100% could have done it because BJ was unbelievable, but BJ was fighting heavyweight.
Well, not successfully, but he was fighting it for sure.
I think BJ could have beaten like Rich Franklin. He definitely could have beaten Evan Tanner. And I like Evan Tanner. I got a lot of respect for Evan Tanner, RIP, but like he could have beaten Evan Tanner.
Okay. But then, I was thinking 40. We're not going 45 though for BJ because he tried 45.
There was no 45 at that point in time
for
him to do it really.
Fair enough.
I think if Hamzat never got sick, he could have.
Hamzat could have had a chance.
Who knows? He maybe he still does. I don't know. Who knows? If he beats DDP and rattles off a defense or two and goes up to 205,
pretty soon we're all going to have to acknowledge Dricus Du Plessis.
I didn't want to say it.
He can't actually win the heavyweight, but God, it would be so funny.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
The amount of shit I would talk forever as being an early DDP adopter, and I was like, he's terrible. Well, triple champ, wear it.
I thought Muhammad Makhachev could have done it at one point, but yeah, I don't know what happened to him.
Still possible.
Wouldn't fight.
He's young.
Yeah,
the guy's like 20.
He's not gonna do it in the UFC.
Who knows?
I don't see it happening. I don't see them rushing to re-sign him anytime soon.
Of the only realistic option right now, I think is Ilya.
Yeah.
Are you accounting?
And that's not. I don't think that's happening. Star power has to be part of it.
That's what I was asking. We're not just doing pure. No,
they're never just going to let you fight for 3 belts. They didn't let Henry Cejudo fight for a 3rd belt when that's a pretty there weren't a ton of great options for Volkanovski. Cejudo, company guy, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, no, we don't care. Fight somebody, beat him.
I'll tell you what, man, if
if
he didn't retire, I think they would have given him the chance during that COVID era where they were just trying to scramble shit together that was realistic, and then he just walked away. He would have got dusted by Volk.
Jan, though.
Well, I mean, they could have still done that. They could have just had him vacate. They made him vacate the flyweight title, or they stripped him of the flyweight belt. So
maybe, but yeah, you're gonna have to have star power to demand the third title fight functionally.
That's
sure.
the problem. Yeah. Thank you.
DDP
or just huge brass ones, and as soon as you win your second belt, drop it and be like, I'll move up, I'll fight whoever to get a title shot. But no one's gonna do that.
Love that. Get no complaints from me. Parker Porter, main event Parker Porter, by the way.
2028, 2025.
What are we waiting for? Yeah, what are we waiting for? You want Parker to be like 40? Get out of here.
Jeez.
Parker's in BKFC now, though. You know?
Yeah.
He's living his best life.
He's going to be the BKFC heavyweight champion sooner rather than later.
Good for him. What a champ.
John, 2 milestones reach heavyweight championship with the heavyweight title this week. Yes. Tommy Aspinall. Oh, Jon Jones is. What was the ESPN stat that turned out?
Yeah, the longest.
Oh my god,
the worst.
Do you guys know how excited I was?
The most ridiculous social media graphic ever created in this space.
I honestly think that it was trolling because it's kind of the only way to do it, and that's like low key great trolling. Do you guys know how excited I was to be like? I was just looking into it. It was like, oh my god, today is the actual day that Tom Aspinall is tied for the most days as interim champion. That was like my favorite tweet I've ever gotten to send. And that everybody else picked it up was like, oh, and the response is universally bad for John. Like it is, because when you can put it down so simply, right? Like Jon Jones fans can be like, he just fought whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when you can put it in the clearest terms possible, that even Eric Jackman, our beloved New York Rick, has to come out and be like, okay, it's kind of ridiculous that Tom Aspinall is now the longest reigning interim champion, because this is not he is wanted to fight. And this is ridiculous, John. Like when Eric is saying, all right, John's got to give up the belt, you know that this has jumped the shark. It was an unbelievable week.
Yep.
Will the UFC, would you say trolling by the ESPN graphics makers, but would the UFC on a broadcast, would they try to sell that as like a talking
if John
point for
was
Jon Jones?
fighting? If John was fighting, yes. They won't just bring it up in relation to nothing, right? Because that would be weird.
That was just come out of nowhere.
But like, if John was booked, they'd be like, he's now the second longest reigning heavyweight champion ever, or whatever.
Jeez.
So you would see a lower third as he's getting ready to walk in the octagon when they put up
100%.
The stats. Oh my God.
Being the keys to victory for him. Second longest reigning heavyweight champion.
That would be so funny.
Those low key, those stats for like random Apex prelims are kind of my favorite thing to watch. It's all like, he's the one of 18 fighters born south of the Mason-Dixon line. Or like that's like a stat. It's like the weird.
Yeah,
dude,
it's
I
that
love
regional
all of
Great
those
Lakes
stats.
baseball stat. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's currently ranked 5th in middleweight strikes landed per minute since 2000. It's just like, guys, there are too many qualifiers. It's not statistical. You know what we should call those? We should call all of those stats the Anthony Smiths, because they're not actually relevant. But like, if you squint, they kind of seem like they're relevant, which is really a perfect description of Anthony Smith. That's right. Tied it back into a conversation we were having last week.
The legend, Anthony Smith, mind you.
That's right. The legend, Anthony Smith.
Roll the video package. Here we go.
Sorry, Lionheart, you caught a stray. That wasn't even a stray. That wasn't a stray. That was directly pointed at you. But tired of the nonsense.
Thank you, Johnny Ray. Connor.
When do you think Cedric Doumbe is going to fight?
It's a great question.
If he's in the
I mean, I guess
PFL,
that's the question.
nobody knows.
Well, I mean, it
Never?
depends on which world we're living in. Because if we're living in the promotional draft world, he is a member of the UFC, and
That's
he
a
will be
great pickup.
fighting in September when the UFC probably returns to Paris. But I have no idea. They are literally doing a card in Paris soon, right? Because they just signed the soccer dude, and Doumbe is just kind of going to be in the corner, I guess, because he's been training with the soccer dude, whose name escapes me at the top of my
Who
brain
knows
right
what
now.
PFL's doing?
Yeah.
They're just
Apparently they're
out
suing
there.
a bunch of companies based on some things that I read because they're not getting paid for any of their sponsorships or a whole
Yeah,
bunch
I
of
tried to
them.
look in and confirm. I believe the reports because I believe the sourcing. I believe that Zach Arnold of Fight Opinion was the primary person doing that, but I haven't had enough time to actually dive into the nitty gritty specifics. But that's not a great look, if that's true.
Maybe we should vet your sponsors a little better. Yeah.
Maybe you should make your fighters that people like fight. You have like 4 of them. You should just have them fight a bunch. That's how things work. Don Davis has not come out and tweeted, "We want Francis Ngannou versus Eddie Hall," is insane to me. And I know that obviously now there are extenuating circumstances. That should have been like the tweets. Or the LinkedIn post if Don prefers. He could have linked it in right there and been like, "Hey, let's make this happen."
Yeah.
Don't
By
know
like
what
4
they're
p.m. on
doing.
Saturday.
Not optimal.
All right, let's go back to being dumb again.
Love Dom.
10 Aspinalls versus Gorilla, 25 Brady's, 50 Marabs.
The 10 Aspinalls are getting obliterated they have a 0% chance of
I don't think-
defeating the Gorilla.
There's a 0% chance in all of
Brady's
these.
or 25 Brady's also has 0 chance. 50 Marabs is 0.0001. Again, in the world where none of them have fear and they all, like 43 of them are willing to be sacrificed.
Yeah, if you
50 Brady's
yeah.
would be interesting.
50 who?
50 Brady's would be interesting because that dude is just 12 of them are perishing within the first 15 seconds, but that dude is a tank.
You genuinely just have to think of this like you're fighting the Hulk, because you can't, like, if you could punch a gorilla, it would do nothing. Like right now, if a silverback was in front of you and there would be no recourse and you could hit it as hard as you can, nothing would happen to it. You would break your hand and it would be like, what just occurred? It's like fighting a 2-year-old. Like that is you couldn't bite through the gorilla's skin. Like the only thing you can do is maybe shove a thumb in its eyes, and then it will just be blind and pissed off, but not dead. And you will then be dead.
I saw some scientists talk about how the gorilla obviously is a tough animal to defeat, but he said the real challenger will be a full-grown grizzly bear. Is that without power? That's not even close. Like we're talking like we have to go like 500 people.
Yeah, dude, they're the same. We're not beating any wild animal. There's a reason we developed pointy sticks because we got shit for weapons. We got no ability.
Little fingernails, little teeth.
Dude, without weapons, I mean this entirely seriously. I've thought about it a lot. Like, how many people would it take to kill a cow if you're not allowed to bring a knife? So many, because you can't do anything to the cow. You have no ability to harm that animal.
I'm just thinking.
You're thinking about it. You're like, you're right. If I kicked a cow as hard as I could, I would break my shin.
You break your ankle.
That's all that would happen. It was all that would happen, and the cow would be pissed off and kick me in the chest, and I would die. You can't, like, we had pointy sticks because we can't do a goddamn thing to anything other than a bird. Now, I'll fuck up a goose. Don't get me, a goose are mean, but I will fuck a goose up. But anything bigger than that, it's the same thing as the, like, a ton of people say this all the time. So this is not like a unique thought or whatever, but like people vastly overestimate their ability to get into fistfights and win, like their ability to do combat just in general. And you see those graphs of like, here are Americans and the biggest animal Americans think they can beat. And like 5% say they could beat like a rhino. It's like, you're delusional. The biggest animal you could beat is a medium-sized dog or a small wolf. And even that is like not a guarantee by any stretch. Like we can't hurt most animals without the pointy sticks.
Yeah, that's why
kangaroo would fuck me up, Masters of the Universe. Kangaroo are mean.
But what if you see red, Jed? What if you see red?
Then the kangaroo would beat my ass and I'd be seeing my blood. That's what I'd be seeing.
That's my favorite one. Oh, but I don't care if it's Alex Pereira or anybody else. If I see red, dude, it's going to be a problem.
Dude, it is like, again, medium-sized dog or very small wolf. And that's not a guarantee. Like, I maintain that I could defeat a small wolf, but I would also probably die. But like, I could get it because a wolf, you really like, it's just the jaw. That's all they've got. But like a small mountain lion, fuck no, I can't do that. They've got claws and teeth. You're cooked. There's nothing.
You'd be a plus 450 in that matchup.
Yeah. It's just like birds. You could beat a lot of birds. Can't beat an ostrich, so we're clear. But like, I could kill a goose, and that is the extent of animals I could defeat. I'm not killing a goddamn gorilla. Psychos.
So when you guys go to the zoo, Jed, do you look at like the penguins? Like, I could take that penguin.
Oh, I could definitely take a penguin, and I guess it would depend on weight. Like, I could beat up a flamingo, right? But like, that's where you're going here. There's just,
oh my God.
We are not built to fight animals. We are built to stab them or to run them down with the fear of stabbing them, and then they die of exhaustion.
Watch out, flamingos. Yeah. Watch out.
Flamingos are like, that's the thing. They weigh like 10 pounds or whatever. And the thing with the goose is if you just get it around the neck, then you have a massive advantage on it. But the flight also makes that a problem. Like, I'd like to believe I could beat a falcon, but it would also suck really hard to fight a falcon, you know? I could beat a honey badger. It would suck, but like, I can just kick it. I will punt it. It will go away, come back, and we'll do that until it says it's done.
You got any other animals you want to drop before we hit the next super chat?
I was just looking at the comments. Capybara's too big. I can't beat a capybara. Like, if you guys ever, I had to fight a dog one time.
How could you ever see red to fight a capybara?
No, capybara.
That's the problem. You just like, I can't do it. No way.
Legitimately one of the most traumatic moments of my life. I had to fight a dog once because it was attacking my dog. And like, it was like a stray that got out, and I saw it coming, and we tried to like avoid it, but it was being psycho. And so I like had to fight it off of my dog, who was not a combat warrior. And I was a soccer player of some ability. I kicked that dog as hard as I possibly could, right in the head. I mean, I punted that thing like I was going for 50 yards in the NFL, and it stopped him from attacking, but it didn't put him down because animals are better at this than we are. This is not our lane.
Thank you, Left Lane.
Great. I don't know how we got there, but that was terrific.
$35 super chat from Tanvir.
Whoa.
Way to go, Tan.
Let's see. In an interview with activist Omar Suleiman, Belal stated he had to take the stairs to the title due to him carrying the flag, and that early on the UFC brass informed him to stop being political. Does this surprise you?
Doesn't surprise me because I believe that Belal believes this. I don't believe that this is true. Not saying it couldn't be true, right? Like, this is a topic you gotta really tiptoe around. The Overton window with regards to Palestine in this country is shifted very, very far in one direction. And so it is possible that the UFC is like, hey man, not that they're opposed to political statements. They obviously do not care. It is possible that they care about this specific political statement to some extent. I am certain that Belal does feel that this is true. And so he is speaking his truth. I think the obvious, like the Occam's razor answer here, the simplest answer is Belal Muhammad is not an interesting fighter. Very good fighter, not a very interesting fighter in the cage. He's had some performances that were good, but broadly speaking, not that great. And the timing was just tough, right? Like he got the Leon fight as supposed to, gets no contest because of the eye pokes. Like he was a victim of some circumstances, and his style of fighting did not engender goodwill amongst the powers that be. And so he did have to take the long way to the belt, but he is far from the only fighter to have those circumstances. And I fundamentally don't think that this is true, but I will acknowledge it could be.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the details. I know there were some details or some shenanigans about certain fighters having a Taiwan flag or a Hong Kong flag or something like that. And so, he's walking off the flag next Saturday, so good for him. Should be a good statement, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jed on the first part for sure, where he could have carried the American flag, and the road would not have been any shorter, I don't think. Just miscalculations along the way.
Sense,
yeah, just I
mean, the truth is, like, look at his resume, right? Like, he was on a solid win streak when he gets to the Leon fight. That left a bad taste in their mouths, and that rightly or wrongly, like, no contests in those situations are almost always held against the fighter who does not choose to continue. Absolutely correct for him not to fight compromise, etc. But that is just the ethos that goes on. Oh, he was scared to fight. Whatever. We laud Anthony Smith for fighting compromised and losing a title fight. We inherently are like, oh, what a coward. He lost the first round to Leon, and then he got poked in the eye and wanted a way out. So then he fights Damian Maia, who's on the downslope, fights Wonder Boy, Vicente Luque. Those are good wins, but also at this time, like, Leon is still trying to get to a title fight at this point in time too. So he is just a victim of circumstance. I would be, again, I won't rule it entirely out. I would just be really surprised if this was actually the reason he had to take the long way there.
All right. Thank you, Tanvir. Sagar Patel.
What are you hearing about UFC media rights negotiations? Do you think the deal will potentially include changes to how sports pricing models work, i.e. all-inclusive pricing package uptick on Netflix? I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm not hearing a whole heck of a lot. I assume Netflix is in the mix, and all I needed to hear was the Netflix CEO say they're not in the mix for them to basically just solidify that they are very much in the mix. That's just called public negotiation. It happens all the time. So, yeah, man. Do you think there's a world where they end up with Netflix and nobody else, Jed?
I think there's a world. It's probably not the most likely world, but I do think that could happen, right? Like, Netflix just has infinite money for things like this. And so, they already have the WWE to some extent. If they're looking at their WWE deal and thinking it would be better if we had more of this, right? Like they get Raw. Do they get anything else from WWE?
Nope.
Okay. So they get Raw or whatever. But if they're, a year into that and looking and saying, man, wish when we had done the WWE deal, we had just done the whole kit and caboodle. We'd taken it all. Maybe they look at this and say, okay, well, let's not make that mistake again. It's not that they can't afford to do it. I do think it will probably be a split of some kind. How that will look will be interesting. But it has been pretty quiet as far as like any sort of lines about what's happening when we are ostensibly in like the thick of this starting to come to play. So, my guess is it goes to some combination of Netflix and, Max or HBO. I don't know what the parent company is called at this point. But kind of everything's up in the air right now. Like you could convince me of almost anything.
Yeah. I honestly don't know. I do think ESPN is still going to be involved in some way. Unless someone just pays them $1 billion a year for the pay-per-views too, and not doing a pay-per-view model, then I see things changing. But
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know how this is going to go, man. I mean, look,
ESPN.
TKO has
Please
God.
continue. No,
No, I was
please.
going to say TKO has proven that, and you're seeing it with WWE now. WWE is becoming very UFC the last couple of years, where they're chasing the money. That is 100% the most important thing right now. And yeah, business is booming, but you can't say, like, you can't watch a 3-hour Raw and be like, this rules. But the people in attendance are spending money and they're selling it out, and like they're just long, tough shows to watch. But it's basically just the most compelling thing on Raw right now is just wrestlers not wrestling. They're talking. Like that's the best thing they have right now. And people like will spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to go to the arena and do this and spend all this money to go to WrestleMania and all this stuff. But I mean, you're seeing it. WWE go into all these different spots that are doing all these different deals with them. Like, we will pay you millions of dollars just to come to our place, whether it makes sense or not. And they'll be like, okay, I'll go. And they will. And I just, that's what this TV deal is going to look like. I don't think it matters when it comes to, okay, this is what we want as far as production. This is what we want as far as many events. This is what we want with this. I don't think they're thinking about this at all. I think they're thinking, who are the entities that are going to give us the most money, and we will work it out from there. And that's how this is all going to play out. So I hope one entity steps up and just offers them like $1.5 billion and just says, all right, we want this and we will do whatever it takes to do it. But you have to lighten the load on shows. Instead of doing 43 events, we're doing 35 or 32 or whatever. I think that'd be great, but there is just no friggin' world where that happens. In fact, it wouldn't shock me if there were more events on this new TV deal than we have right now. Like, I could see midweek events, all sorts of different things, because they're going to chase the dollar, the biggest amount of money they can get. So that's kind of the TKO way of business right now, especially in the combat sports world. And I don't blame them for it, but that's their motivation right now, and not to make history on Netflix, if that makes sense.
Yep. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Spencer, another super chat from Spencer.
Amazing work to Jed and AK for the best freak show fights. With how good Tom is, argument last 9 months should have defended title twice. Be bigger star, so fight more enticing and bigger for Jones plus grow. Spencer in this AIM level text here. Should Tom, basically the question is, should Tom have fought more while trying to build the Jon fight?
So no, he shouldn't fight. The answer is yes, because he should be the undisputed champion. He should be defending the belt. No, because he's not. And there's no reason for him to defend an interim title at this point. You're doing the things that should be championship. You should get to fight for the belt or get to have the belt, one of the two. So no, he shouldn't be fighting. He should say, yeah, I will fight Jon or I will defend the real belt. Those are the two options here. I'm not going to fight Cyril Gahn and defend the interim title. Why are you coddling this giant man baby? Take the fucking title from him. You would have done it to literally anybody else at this point. But yeah, he should be fighting because he should just be the champ. Jon Jones should have retired or walked away a la GSP and then can come back later if he wants to do, et cetera, et cetera. But then we wouldn't talk about him. And God knows that it would be a terrible world if Jon Jones wasn't being talked about every day as the greatest fighter who has ever put on shoes. So, but yeah, like he should, because that's a normal promotion would have made Jon fight him, not Stipe. And then, or Jon retires and then he fights Stipe. Stipe probably would have fought for the belt. Maybe he wouldn't have, but these should be the things that should be happening for the guy who is ostensibly going to lead your heavyweight division for years to come. And instead he's sitting here. And at least I will say the clear shift in public opinion towards him, that at least that is in his favor, that people are now just like genuinely gravitating towards Tom Aspinall because he is getting so screwed here. But like, it would be better if he could just club around Cyril Gane or Jailton Almeida. And, you know, here's the thing I'm interested with Tom Aspinall, because eventually John will get stripped. It might take 6 years at this rate, but eventually he'll get stripped because he's not going to fight him. How do we look at Tom Aspinall's title reign? Because officially he has no real title defenses, but like realistically he has one interim title defense. And so when does he pass Stipe for the most heavyweight title defenses? Do we count the interim one? Like, how does the UFC count it? I certainly will. How will the UFC count it? We just need to move on from this situation. Like, it could not be more clear that we just need to move on. If John wants to fight, he can come back and fight later, and he can bring his belt and say, I never lost it in the cage, and that's A-okay. But we have got to quit coddling this man. Like, he is a grown-ass man. He can fight or leave. Those are the two options, but make one choice.
Has Tom actually turned down a fight, or is he not offered?
We don't know.
Yeah, because they say he should fight more often, but the UFC isn't making him fight or offering a fight. I'm kind of confused. Like,
yeah, I mean, again, but like, I know Tom Aspinall's dad kind of went on a rant on Tom's YouTube channel about this, and he's not wrong. Like, the UFC have put him in like almost an impossible scenario right now, because like, you'd be like, yeah, you could fight Jailton or Cyril Gane, and I'm here to tell you, there is zero buzz for Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, especially with Gane's performance in his most recent fight. There's zero buzz for that fight. And most people understand what that fight is. It is a Tom Aspinall's, fighting a guy who held interim gold at one point, but stylistically, Tom obliterates him. Like, he is probably a minus 500 favorite in that fight. He will tackle Cyril Gane and he will finish him in the first round more than likely. And there's just no desire there. Like, that's not a pay-per-view main event. It's just no desire there. And it's just an eye roll because of the whole John situation. So, but then if he takes this fight, if he fights Cyril and wins, let's just say that fight happens in July and John calls the UFC and says, I want to fight in September, and Tom can't go. John's going to fight somebody else for the belt, and he misses that opportunity. So he's just he's in a no-win situation. And if you go back to what we were talking about when they first announced Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich for the interim belt, and all the shows we did after that, we all said that putting an interim belt on the line in that fight was dumb, and that this exact thing was going to happen if they don't go right to the Tom Aspinall fight. And Dana White was steadfast from day one. The whole world wants to see John versus Stipe. We have to give the world what they want, when yet after Stipe got hurt, and we saw what Tom Aspinall did to Sergey Pavlovich, while injured, by the way, on short notice, no other fight matters. Like, this is the one everybody's wanted for 2 years now, and we can't get there. Oh, we have to do the Stipe fight. Why? Because John wants it? Like, just come on, be honest about it. And then it's still bad, but at least it goes over better. Like, no one's gonna shit on Dana for being like, yeah, I want this fight. John wants this fight. It's clear what this is. Just come on and say it. Like, we'd respect John much more if he said the same thing. And John, like, at least on the tail end of all of this, after he won at UFC 309 or whatever, was just like, yeah, man, I'm trying to make as much money as possible. I want to fight Pereira. He's a fun fight. We'll make a lot of money together. At least he was trying to be honest. At least for that day, he was being honest. And now we're back to this whole ridiculousness. It's just so silly. Just strip him of the belt. It's not hard. Just strip him of the belt.
Strip him. That's all.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, there are like a billion things, and we've talked this to death so many times. It's like, one, I'll go two things very quickly. The first is, like, anybody who watches F1, this situation is like, the way F1 works is you've got two drivers for a team, but there's usually like a driver and a B driver. And so if you're in a race and it's like, you will ask the B driver to sacrifice his race to better the A driver in certain situations. It's functionally what they are doing with Tom Aspinall's career. Like, hey, can you harm your own career as we keep coddling Jon Jones for reasons that do not make sense? That's sort of an insane proposition for them to offer, especially when, hey, There's now a very, very obvious answer because all of this was bad. It was really, really bad. I never want to make the change, but you could talk yourself into it in a certain situation. But now Alex Pereira doesn't have the light heavyweight belt anymore. I don't think people care that much about him fighting Magomed Ankalaev again. Like, sure, if it happens, okay, we like Alex Pereira. Pereira and Jon can just go fight for a non-belt.
Yes.
They can call it their own belt. So this is the GOAT belt or the heavyweight BMF belt. Like, they could do whatever the shit they want, and that's a fight that both men want, would do big business, and won't fuck up anybody else. Take the belt from Jon. Give him the fight he wants. We can come on these shows and be like, yeah, Jon was legitimately just ducking the shit out of Tom Aspinall, and that he can have to deal with the fallout of that to his legacy, but he can get the fight he wants. Nobody's set back, and Tom Aspinall can be the champion because he is the champion. He's been the champion for 538 days at this point in time because he is the only fighter in the heavyweight division who is defending against top challengers. Like, this is so simple. I have to believe that they just stubbornly think they're going to make this fight happen the same way that Dana thought Khabib was going to fight again, when it was clear to everyone on the fucking universe and like on this planet and on the moon and in a galaxy far away, everybody knew that that wasn't happening. Jon is not fighting Tom. Give up the dream or pay him $50 million. Those are your two options. You're not going to do option B. Give it up. Take the belt from him and be like, hey, Jon, we're going to take the belt. Here's your consolation prize. It's a fight with Alex Pereira. And we'll give you a different belt of the GOAT belt or whatever the shit you want it to be for. And you two can do this and we can move on with our lives. It's the only fucking answer here.
Yeah. We have a young, exciting heavyweight who can carry this division for the next 5 years. And he's on the bench waiting for Jon. And maybe this is part of Jon's plan. I'll beat him out of the cage in the bank account conversation. Like, this is maybe part of the game, but it's just so
Jon's plan is
so
very clearly to hope Tom loses to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, that's clearly his plan as far as fighting Tom goes, of like, either pay me so much money I can't say no, or if I just wait, Tom will fight somebody and maybe that guy will beat him. And then I can put a snarky tweet out there.
Yeah. Go do, if you want to do Jon versus Pereira, just fucking do it. We've been saying it for forever.
That fight would be fine to make right now. Be totally fine to make right now.
Jon said he would vacate the belt if the UFC made that fight. So just do it.
Do it.
Just do it. Ugh, it's so annoying.
Does the UFC have to do any of this though? Like we keep saying, they're making money over money over money over money, and
that's why they don't have
a monopoly. Yeah, that to me, that's the biggest.
As a monopoly, they don't have to do anything, Casey.
Yeah,
but that shouldn't be how we judge things, because that would
I know,
but to have shows. We can just never do a show again if the answer is the UFC is going to make money. See you next week.
But I hate saying it, but I feel like that's so many times the answer. It's like, well,
right.
They're making
money.
But
this is the position they are in. They can put Derek Lewis, Rodrigo Nascimento as a main event and break the gate record. They don't have to make this fight. Conor McGregor never has to fight in the UFC again. Jon Jones never has to fight in the UFC again. Does not matter. Sean O'Malley, any fighter you perceive to be a quote unquote star in the UFC right now, none of them have to fight. None of them. And they will still do fine. Now they're in a very interesting position right now because they're at that sort of 5-year fan turnover spot right now where the fans that jumped on in 2020, they're jumping off at a ferocious pace. And we see what they've been trying to do ever since then. They're not trying to promote for us. They're not even trying to promote for the 2020 fan. They're trying to promote to the Aiden Ross fans. Like, that's who they're catering to right now. This is an experience. It's, hey, come to our events. You never know who's going to be there. It's a fun time being in the building. That's what they care about. They don't care about selling pay-per-views because they don't have to care, because they're getting a floppity $1 jillion from ESPN per event anyways to handle the production. They could sell one pay-per-view. It does not matter. It doesn't affect them at all. So what does affect them is cities and towns seeing the traffic it brings to their areas, selling 19,000 tickets to a fight night that isn't great, and that a fighter is not bigger than the sport or the promotion anymore. They've tried to avoid that since the Conor McGregor situation. And guess what? They have succeeded. And Jon Jones is not going to be the guy that is bigger than the UFC. It's just not going to happen. So let's just move on. UFC continue to be the star. Dana White can continue to be the face of the promotion. That's what everybody wants anyways. Just do that. Like, but let's just make this somewhat of a sport and not ridiculous. It's crazy. The Celtics can't just say, you know what? We beat the Magic. We're still the champs. We're going to sit out the rest of the playoffs. And then maybe, just maybe, if the Knicks go on and win the interim championship, maybe we'll sit out for 2 years and see if they don't. Let's see if they win the championship the next 2 years. It's not the real championship because we have the real championship. And then we'll decide to come back. Maybe the NBA brass can pay us a couple $1 billion extra in order for us to play the Knicks. Like, it doesn't work like this in other sports. You play who you're supposed to play. You fight who you're supposed to fight. That is why members of media and that cover other sports, they don't take what I do seriously. They laugh at me sometimes because they don't think it's a real sport because of what this is. So it's all silly. It's all ridiculous.
You know why this is a real sport? One of the fighters on the roster that just fought like last week is in jail right now, and that barely made a blip on the. I feel like on the.
That kind of happens a lot in sports now.
Yeah.
It's certainly worse for us, but that's just people. The tolerance has broadly gotten much more acceptable. People will ask about it, but no one's going to care. No one's going to ask like Dana about Cedric Doumbe at the next presser.
It's
He has no idea who Cedric Doumbe is. Yeah. He has no clue who.
Couldn't pick him out of crowd of two. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, he was on the Contender Series, and I know Dana's saying his praises, but you asked him about it now. He has no clue who he is, and why should he? He's trying to get Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall together. He's a busy man.
Just a waste of time.
Moving on.
You start with the pinch of $1 million. You lose $10K for every Tom Aspinall you roll out there. How many are you sending him to get the job done?
I'm not good at math. I have to subtract zeros to figure out. I mean, all of them probably. Right? Like I would take a free 10K. So all of them minus one, so I can win 10K if I succeed.
Yeah, I was gonna say we leave 20 grand left, and that's it.
10K would be great. That'd be cool, but don't trust it.
You may not. None of them may come back. You never know. Thank you, Left Lane.
Gorillas are 10 times as strong as people, and at most 6 people can hit the gorilla at once. That math doesn't work great for dudes in the battle.
RJ, is Don Davis unironically sharing Alec Baldwin's quote from Glengarry Glen Ross, a movie about morally corrupt predatory salesmen, on his LinkedIn, the most Don Davis thing ever?
Does he always be closing on his LinkedIn or something?
I assume it's that.
What did he write?
I don't go to Don Davis's LinkedIn a bunch. Let's let's take a look at old Donnie D.
I have to. All right, we should all read this together. If it's coffee is for closers, it would be a terrific.
First
thing.
Prize is a new Cadillac. Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired.
That's the quote.
That's
the quote he used.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, he didn't use it as a quote so much as he here's a meme, reposted it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a
that scene is friggin' awesome, by the way. There's some questionable language in today's society. So if you're gonna watch the quote, you've never seen it, probably if you got a young child, probably not watch it in front of them, but the rest of it, pretty badass, man. The leads are weak. You're weak. Oh, Alec Baldwin just hit a
I
grand
suspect
slam.
Don Davis was in fact one of those dudes who in college watched Glengarry Glen Ross and thought it was dope. He probably also
completely misread it. Yeah.
Probably watched The Wolf of Wall Street aspirationally. And now I'd like to think he's old enough and mature enough to recognize the parts that you're not this is actually
bad. He's a bad
satirization guy. Or just a takedown of these people. But I don't think he thought this through at all. It was just like, oh yeah, we can't finish in third, blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing. Buddy, you're finishing fourth per our poll of the latest promotional draft. I think PFL is fourth. Maybe PFL did better.
I mean, if I'm not fourth, I'm taking that as an absolute victory for the UFC because it's
you started hot and you cratered down the stretch, which is tough
because people like don't want to have fun. You know,
people hate fun.
They saw Eddie Hall marries Pujanowski and they thought I wasn't being serious. I was being dead serious. The UFC needs
the best fight of the year.
Fight like that. Yeah, they needed that. It would have done so much better. It's just so great. But yeah, Don Davis is the choices PFL continues to make is just baffling to me. And that's why the UFC can do what they do. They have zero worries or concerns.
Mike, you were in fact defeated. You are
good.
You're at the bottom. Damon is the top. Actually, AK and PFL are number 2 and BKFC is number 3.
Yeah. I mean, you can't win with the UFC. It's impossible.
It's really tough.
I don't know what else. I don't know what else the people wanted from me. I got the best fighter, best free agent on the market. I got a little hipster. You know, I thought it was good. I gave the world, the UFC fans, the best fight of the year.
We were all playing for second place against GFL this year.
Oh yeah, GFL was exactly what you wanted. You were hoping that wheel spun on you for GFL.
All right.
I
think it's last question. We've gone an hour. But this is an interesting one to think about.
Mike Jet and Mustache, we have been alive during initial rise and growth of MMA. 100 years from now, this time will be significant in the history of the sport. This time will be significant in the history of the sport. How do you feel about this?
I suspect that the sport will, in fact, continue to exist 100 years in the future. I am not certain of that. And I say that for a very specific reason, because what place the sport is in right now is concerning, not for like its immediate future, but its long-term future, right? Because like monopolies are bad. There's a reason we don't want them. The UFC pretty clearly has a monopoly going on, and monopolies never really are long-term good for anything. Mm-hmm. And specifically, they're going to be really bad in this sport. Both like, you know, we could dive into morals, whatever. Not that like there aren't that many fight fans in the actual world. And that's just the truth of it. Like if you're here watching this show, you're a fight fan, right? Like it doesn't matter what happens. You'll find the fights, you'll watch them. And for a long period of the UFC history, like that was how the sport survived, is there was a small dedicated group of people on forums, like watching the fights as best they could as these organizations sort of struggled through. The UFC has reached a level of success that I would lend, that makes me think it probably will sort of persist in perpetuity now, but it's not certain. And if they run this thing into the ground, because all they are doing, basically all they've done for the last 4 years, and all they seem to be planning to do it forevermore, is to extract as much value out of it, there's a tipping point where that's no longer acceptable, where if every fight card sucks, there's one good fight, or there's not even that, and it's still $80 to pay, people will just fall out. They won't care to watch this. And if that goes on long enough, the brand gets diluted and it goes away. And I don't know that there are that many like legitimately true MMA fans of the sport itself, not of the spectacle, etc., to resuscitate it if things just go to shit for them over the period of 10, 20 years. 100 years is a long time. A whole lot of things can happen in 100 years. I hope that it's here and we can look back and I can be like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool to be an early adopter of this global phenomenon. I would not bet my life on it.
Yeah, we are in a very strange place.
Yeah. Like I look at old images of boxing from 1920s, and they're, you know, it's like, I don't know, Jack Johnson fighting in front of like 60,000 people, something insane. Yeah, I'm like, wow, you know. I mean, I wonder. I'm kind of like, are we that right now? You know, but
it'd be cool if we were.
Yeah,
I am not sure.
Yeah.
I
Couple more
hope we
super
are.
chat. Oh, yeah. Couple more super chats
Yeah.
just rolled in. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, it's just, kind of co-sign what Jed just said. It's just, I'll tell I will say I'm with Jed where I will say it will still be around, but the caveat to this is the UFC needs a competitor. If they don't have one, we're not going to be here in 100 years. I'm sorry. Because competition makes people better, and they have none. They absolutely have none. They have boxing and pro wrestling, which are not competition to them whatsoever, because they're diving into both. Like the company that owns them is in both. And one is dominating one.
They're currently aligned with the biggest wrestling promotion in the world.
Exactly.
In the world, yeah.
But at least like WWE is just murdering it financially. Like their business is so hot right now, but they have competition. They at least have a competitor. And AEW is a competitor with unlimited funds. They are never going away. The WWE is never putting them out of business because Tony Khan can fund this thing for the rest of his life without any issue. We need that. That's why, like, when we shit on PFL, it's not to be cool. It's because we want them to do right by the fan base, because we need someone to succeed. Someone has to be good. Someone has to do the right thing and get excitement into the space, do at least attempts to get anywhere near the UFC, because anyone who has been that competitor, the UFC is either just bottom or has just disintegrated their promotion altogether, just clobbered them and put people in such financial strain because they're just crushing it business wise. And these other organizations can't do what they do. They don't have the function of it. So we need a competitor to step up and give them some.
Oh no.
Oh, we lost Mike. Take over, Jed.
We'll never know what Mike was going to say other than we need a competitor. And yeah, that's true. Like currently the UFC are the stewards of the sport, and they seem pretty intent on running this thing into the ground in order to extract value. And where the sport goes, if that happens, I don't know. I hope it survives, turns into something different. Certainly could, but again, I'm confident boxing will still be here because boxing has been here for 150 years, actually like 200 some odd years. But like, we're new. New things can go away quickly.
Yes, sir. A couple more super chats before we get out. I think we lost Mike. Apparently, his power is out, and you need power to be on this.
You do need power.
Stream. Yeah, so
just leave him up there in the middle.
Yeah.
For
I definitely. I thought he disappeared.
No.
I was gonna zoom in on him too. All right,
okay, we got a couple super chats, so let's power through them and get out. Tobias Riper. Sorry if I got that wrong, Tobias. Odds on Jones holding up the belt until the next Madison Square Garden card so he can claim to be the longest reigning heavyweight champion in UFC history. I didn't look that up. If that actually would be the longest reigning championship from a days wise, that would be incredible trolling. I think if he's holding the belt, it's, he just wants to fight at Madison, but it's not. He's not going to fight Tom. Give it up, guys. He's not. If he was going to fight Tom, he would have fought Tom. That's it. The UFC has apparently made
Jon Jones isn't getting better. Jon Jones sees
Correct.
into the road. Yeah.
Correct. And Jon knows it. Jon, I'm pretty confident Jon is aware that he is no longer his best self. And the only thing that's going to make him take the fight is if the UFC ups their offer. They've not. By the reporting, Ariel, a couple of other people, the UFC has made a good offer, whatever that constitutes. Unless Dana wakes up one day and is like, F it, this must happen. Here's $50 million. He's not going to fight him. And that's fine. He doesn't need to. He doesn't have to. So just give up. Give up because it's not going to happen, guys.
All right. And our last super chat.
Left Lane, out of curiosity, what are you guys' prediction percentage for the year? I'll give myself some credit. I'm at 69% this year with 82% over the last 4 cards.
82%. Wow.
82 is good. AK has also been on a heater lately as well.
Yeah. I pretty much I stay around that 60 to 65%.
That my year over year is like is right in that 64 stuff. I am a little down this year. I just looked it up on Tapology. I'm 61%. So slightly down from my usual, but right in the same sort of range.
I wish I could. I'm not going to spend the time on it, but to break down my predictions for actually fights that I actually care about, because a lot of times,
that you are
yeah, committed, yeah,
not
like,
just doing,
yeah, like maybe main card, like predictions like main card pay-per-views. Okay, I know these fighters. I'm not just going, oh, I remember that guy. I finally lost on my main events this year. I had a really good streak, and then who was the last main event?
The last one was Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates.
Yeah. Oh no, I did pick Prates. No, I did pick Garry. I think it was the one before that. Well, I had a good streak, but overall, yeah. But Left Lane, if you're 82%, that's incredible.
It's on a heater. AK almost went perfect last week, so that was dope.
Almost. But then he missed on what did he miss on?
Demolidor, Michelle Pereira. Sorry.
Yeah.
Our boy. I saw we had one last one come in. Let's get out of here. From Scritchin, $2 for Mike's light bill. Hey man, it's hard times out there. Every little bit helps. Mike's got to quit. You know what? What's the issue with kids these days? All that Dunkin', Casey. Yeah. That Dunkin' and the avocado toast. Ugh. Mike's not out here paying his power bills because he's got to be powered by Dunkin'.
Gosh darn millennials.
Gosh darn millennials. Hit the music. You already hit the music. It's always super weird to take over hosting an hour and 10 minutes into the show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, because I wasn't the planned host. We have a preview show coming tomorrow, but I don't know who's on it or when. There's all boxing stuff happening, so that's also part of this. Obviously, tomorrow the Times Square card's happening. Saturday, Canelo, UFC on Saturday as well. PFL tonight, so tune into that, I suppose. Keep it locked in with fighting.com, their website for all the news this week. Love y'all.
This has been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.